Masechet Nedarim Daf Peh. We began the Mishnah at the beginning of the Perek yesterday, that if a woman, wife says, makes a vow, if I will wash or if I will not wash, if I will adorn or if I will not adorn, then that's called Inui Nefesh, that's a vow of affliction, and that the husband can annul, even if it doesn't relate to their relationship. Nevertheless, this is one of the categories that a husband can annul. We're going to ask today, what is this language? If I wash, why don't you just say washing is forbidden to me? It sounds like this is part of a condition. What's the rest of the condition? If I wash, then what? If I don't wash, then what? So we have to clarify this language. And remember that Rabbi Yosef disagreed with the Tanna Kama. Did he disagree just about the condition part? Did he disagree and say that washing is not considered an affliction and some people don't wash and it's okay? What exactly was he referring to? Was he objecting to when he says that no, this is not nidre inui nefesh? Only if she says something like, I'm not going to eat any fruit anymore. That is. Notice that Rabbi Yosef here does not have any condition. So we're going to wonder, in what way does Rabbi Yosef exactly disagree with Tanna Kama? Okay, so we begin here. We're going to propose three different answers. The first two will be rejected. So we'll end up with the last one. What exactly is she saying when she makes this vow? That's called affliction, and the husband can annul. Maybe she says, she's making conditions. She says, if I wash, it sounds like ever, or for an extended period of time, then all fruit in the world will be prohibited to me. Oh, so now we're filling in, because we see the Mishnah only made a condition, an if part, so we're filling in the then part, and so that would be the affliction, would be that she can't have fruit. In that case, we have a couple of questions. First, Lama la hafara lo tirchas velo litasiran perot olam elu ala. Why should the husband annul it? Why should he have the right to annul it? Let her not wash, and she will not be prohibited from produce at all. In other words, even though not eating fruit is an affliction, but since it's dependent on a condition, and the condition is up to her, and right now we're assuming that not washing is not called an affliction, that people can go on with not washing. We're going to change that assumption, don't worry. But assuming that, so what's the problem? He shouldn't have to annul it. It's like if she says, if I go to Chicago, then I won't eat anything. Okay, fine. He doesn't have to annul that, because don't go to Chicago, and then you won't have a problem. So that's, first of all, he should not have a right to annul it. Second, ve'od and furthermore, according to this interpretation, how come Rabbi Yosef says this is not called affliction? Rabbi Yosef agrees that not eating fruit is certainly an affliction, and maybe she will wash, and then she'll be prohibited to eat fruit. So why would Rabbi Yosef disagree in this case? Shouldn't Rabbi Yosef agree that this if you can solve this problem, that the if then truth is, even according to Rabbi Yosef, you should say, well, it's an if statement, so it's okay. But if you solve this problem, then you're still going to have the problem with Rabbi Yosef that the actual affliction is really an affliction, and therefore Rabbi Yosef should agree that it should that the husband should annul it. So one way or another, either the husband should not annul it because there's a condition and she doesn't have to trigger the condition, or if you forget about the condition, the affliction is really bad. And Rabbi Yosef would agree with Tanna Kama in that case. So that can't be. Rather, Ela Damra. We're getting the fruit out of the picture, and we're focusing everything on washing. And she says she's prohibiting herself to wash, but she's also using an if statement. She's saying, if I wash once, then the benefit of washing will be prohibited to me forever. So that would mean that she could either not wash ever, and then she's okay, or she's allowed to wash once, but if she washes once, then washing will be prohibited afterwards. So at most she could wash once, but basically she's prohibiting herself from washing. maybe that's what she means. She used, instead of, she could have said just, I'm not going to wash forever, washing is prohibited to me, but she made it in this kind of conditional statement. So mishum hachi mefer la hechi ta'avid. And now we answered the first question above. This is why the husband can nullify it, because she has no choice. If she washes one time, then forevermore she cannot wash. It's prohibited. If she doesn't wash, then even once, then it's true she doesn't trigger the vow, but she is going to be minuvela. She's going to be disgusting, and this is certainly an affliction, and she can't live that way. Okay, so this is good. But Rabbi Yosef Sabar, we can answer the Rabbi Yosef's problem also. If Shade lo rachasa ulnivul la chashinan, and Rabbi Yosef thinks no, she could be that she won't bathe, and this is not considered defiling for her. This is not considered disgusting. Rabbi Yosef has a higher bar. He says maybe you could live without washing, but you can't live without eating. All right, so now we solved both problems, but we don't like this one either. If this is the case, as you said, where she makes this kind of condition, if I wash, then I will not be able to benefit from washing, and Rabbi Yosef thinks that not washing is not considered an affliction, well, then let him just replace the then part of the statement. Rabbi Yosef could say like this: if I wash, then I cannot ever eat fruit. And so he doesn't have to change two things from Tanakama. He could just change the then part. And so now, this is an affliction, right? Now washing is not an affliction. Now eating fruit is an affliction. But Rabbi Yosef doesn't only do that. He changes a couple of things, and he takes off the very condition. And so if Rabbi Yosef actually was arguing just on the condition, then he should have said, this condition does not have an affliction, because she says, if I wash. So you see, the affliction has to be part of the condition as well, not just the consequence of the condition. And washing one time is not itself an affliction, and that's why Rabbi Yosef disagrees, and he completely removes it. But it sounds like he actually would agree that not washing is considered an affliction. Therefore, we have to refigure and get a third opinion, a third interpretation. Ela damra hanaat rechisa alai leolam im elchas hayom. Rabbi Yosef savar nivul dechad yoma la shemen nivul. Rather, we're talking about a case where she says, if I wash today, then a washing will be prohibited for me forever. So according to Tanakama, because washing is an affliction, washing forever is certainly an affliction, so then this condition makes it impossible for her to wash. Because if she washes today, then she'll never be able to. And even washing for one day, not washing for one day, is also an affliction according to Tanakama. And so if she doesn't wash, it's also an affliction that way. Either way, according to Tanakama, the husband can nullify it. Whereas, according to the Rabbi Yosef, he thinks that not washing for one day is not an affliction. Lots of people don't wash for a day. What's the big deal? And therefore, she can simply not wash today, and then the vow will never kick in. And so there's no problem there. And that's why the Rabbi Yosef disagrees with Tanakama. So you can't put a condition like that on it. And that's why the Rabbi Yosef goes to a different case and talks about fruit. And so that's the final answer. Now we understand the case of the Mishnah. We'll notice we're adding a lot of words into the Mishnah to try to fit in that if. Simple reading of the Mishnah, as we said yesterday, is just about levels of affliction. But the Gemara, noticing that the Mishnah does use an if language for Tanakama, then assumes that it must be a case like this. Okay, now we solved one part of it, but Shenit im elchas. Im lo elchas hechidame. You explained to me the condition of if I will wash, right? If I will wash today, then I cannot wash ever again. But what does the second phrase in the Mishnah mean? If I do not wash, what kind of condition does she make? If she says the benefit of washing will be prohibited to me forever if I do not wash today, well then he doesn't have to annul that. tit sechi. Let her wash today, and then she'll be fine forever. So there's no affliction ever in that case. Amar Rav Yehuda, Amra hanaat rechisa alai leolam im lo erchas b'mei mishra. Rav Yehuda says, oh, this is what she meant to say. If I do not wash in water that had flax soaked in it, this foul, disgusting water, that's what she is making a vow, right? If I don't wash in this disgusting water, then I cannot wash ever again. Why would anybody say that? I don't know, but she says it, and so now either way, she's going to do something disgusting. Either today wash in disgusting water, or she won't wash in the flax water, but then she can never wash ever again. That is certainly an affliction, and the husband can undo it. However, we need to reject this answer because it won't make sense in the next clause of the Mishnah. Lichluchu. How are you going to explain the next clause where she says, if I adorn myself, if I don't adorn myself? So does that mean, she says, if I don't adorn myself today, then I can never adorn myself again. So what kind of disgusting way would there be to adorn herself? Does that mean instead of putting makeup, she puts on some gasoline on her face? That's not called adorning. No one would ever adorn themselves in naphtha. That would be disgusting itself. So it doesn't make sense to even say the word et kashet, to adorn, with some kind of this flammable liquid. So there's no way we can fit it in. Whereas for washing, you can say washing, even though you're washing in disgusting water, it's still called washing, even though you're not going to come out very clean. So we could fit it in here, but we really can't fit it in here. So, okay, this is rejected. Instead, Amar Rav Yehuda, Amra hanaat rechisa leolam alai im elchas hayom. He explains that the first clause, when she says, if I do wash, it means if I wash today, then the benefit of washing will be prohibited to me forever. That's the answer that we already saw. And if I don't wash, that's not talking about a neder, but rather a shevuah. Shevuah, shelo erchatz. I am not going to bathe. It's actually not an if clause, but just the language of a shevuah. In the language of a shevuah, you could say im, and without it meaning if, right? Like such and such has come to me. If I will not wash. But I mean, it doesn't mean a condition. It just means if I will not wash, meaning a shevuah, I will not wash. Okay, so therefore, that's what it means. It's talking about a shevuah. And similarly, hanat kishut alay leolam im et kashet hayom ushvuah shelo et kashet. In the next part of it, she says, if I adorn myself today, then I can never adorn myself ever. That's the first case. And when she says im lo et kashet, she's just saying im, not as an if, but rather as part of a shivuah formula. If I do not adorn, meaning I will not adorn myself. Okay, so that's his answer. Hold on, in this answer, now you introduce, we're talking about Nedarim. This is Masechet Nedarim. And all of a sudden you introduce a Shevuah. In that case, the introduction of the Mishnah shouldn't say, these are Nedarim that a husband can nullify. It should say, these are Nedarim and Shevuot that a husband can nullify. Right? So how could you introduce Shevuot here? And Rav Asher's answer is, okay, so put that in the Mishnah, right? Maybe that is the right way to read the Mishnah. Or if you don't want to change the language of the Mishnah, Shavuot are included within Nedarim. Nedarim has two meanings. This could mean specifically Nedarim, that you say that the object of the prohibition is the object of the prohibition is the item itself, not the person. But Nedarim also has another meaning. It means in general all kinds of oaths. We could prove that this is so from a Mishnah that we had way back on Daf Tet. If a person says, I'm making a vow like wicked people make a vow, then that is valid because that's the way of wicked people to make vows. And that applies not only to, and if he says that, and he was made a neder, as a nazir, or for a korban, or a shivuah, all these are valid. Even though it said kinideh sha'im, you see shivuah is a subcategory of nedarim in this Mishnah. And so it fits into our Mishnah. just fine even without adding the word shivu'ah. All right, good. Now, v'amru Rabbanan, rechisa itbea inui nefesh ki lo rachsa. All right, so now that we figured out the language, let's go to the content of this. According to Rabbanan, if someone does not wash, that's considered an affliction. That's why the husband can annul the wife's vow when she says, I'm not going to wash. Now, is that true? Urminhu afal pisha subecholan en anush karet ela be'ochel v'shoteh ve'oseh melacha bilbad. On Yom Kippur, we have 5 different ainuyim that are all prohibited, right? Eating and drinking is one, bathing is the second one, anointing, marital relations, and wearing leather shoes. Even though all 5 are prohibited, but karet, one only gets karet if for eating and drinking and for doing melacha. Okay, melacha is a separate reason because it's Shabbat Shabbaton, but that's not because of inui. But of the inuyim, only eating and drinking is considered an inui because the presumption is bathing, although we're not allowed to bathe, if you go a day without bathing, that's not called inui. So not everybody bathes every single day. Not everybody necessarily anoints every day. Not everybody has marital intercourse every day. And some people don't always wear leather shoes. But eating and drinking, that's something that within a few hours, you notice it. Nobody goes a whole day without eating and drinking for fun. So that's why, even though they're all prohibited, karet only applies to eating and drinking. And if you say that not washing for a day, remember we're talking here about the opinion of Rabbanan, who said our Mishnah is a case where the woman says, if I wash today, then I can never wash again. And so even not washing for a day is called ainui. So if you say that not washing is ainui, even for one day, then on Yom Kippur, if he does wash, it should be chayav karet, because not washing for a day is called inui, like not eating for a day is called inui. Therefore, just like if you eat on Yom Kippur, you get karet, so too, if you wash, because then you are not doing inui, you should get karet. And so it seems from here that the fact that you don't get karet for washing on Kippur means that not washing for only one day is not considered inui. That's why you don't get karet, because you weren't afflicted anyway when you weren't washing, and therefore when you do wash, you didn't change from not being afflicted to not afflicted the same way as you are when you're not eating and then you eat. So the answer is Amarava minyana dikra gabe Yom Kippurim dichtiv ta'anu et nafshotechem mileta deyada inuya hashta rechisa layada inuya hashta. Rava says you have to treat each matter in its own context. And on Yom Kippur it says you should afflict yourselves. And this is talking about something that you know right now, I am being afflicted. So if you don't eat for a few hours, you keep every second, you're like, when can I eat? I feel thirsty, I want to drink. And so you feel it immediately. Whereas not washing, you don't feel it immediately. Just then, it's only after a while, then you feel it. That's why the affliction does not kick in just then. However, gabe Nedarim dichtiv kol neder v'chol shevuat isad la'anot nafesh, regarding vows, where it says a husband can nullify his wife's vow for any prohibition that causes affliction. Milata da'at yalideh lelideh ainui v'chila rachasa at yalideh ainui. That is more inclusive, and that would include anything that will eventually come to cause affliction, even if she's not feeling affliction immediately. Already the body, the skin's going to start getting dry, starting getting dirty. It's going to cause rashes and itching and start being smelly. Even if you don't feel it right now, the effects of it will be felt later on. And so for Yom Kippur, you have to feel it right then. Te'anu et nafshotechem, and you don't feel it right then. But for vows, you have to feel it even eventually. That's still called affliction. All right, so we solved that problem. All right, last question. We're going to show a contradiction between two statements of Rabbi Yosef. Here's the first one. The first one we saw above. Here's the second one. Ma'ayan shel bnei ha'ir chayehen v'chaya acherim chayehen kodmin lachaya acherim. This is an interesting case. You have a spring of water, and it has limited amount of water, and the people need it to drink, to live, so they can live. And now this spring belongs to one city. It's located in one city, and there's not enough water to go around. The residents of that city where the spring is take precedence. They get to drink and live, and the people from a next door city who may not have water also don't have water. They don't have a right to take our water. The same thing of like two individuals that are walking in the desert, right? If someone has water and the other one doesn't, the one who has water has the right to drink it. Okay. Behemtam ubehemat acherim. Behemtam kodemet lebehemat acherim. And similarly, let's say there's enough water for people to drink. Now we're talking about water that's dirtier, that animals would drink, but not humans. And so now that's also limited. And we have animal water in our city, and you guys in your city, you also need water for your animals. We don't have to share it if we don't have extra, because our animals take precedence over your animals. And third case, kibisatan kodemet lekibisat acherim. And if there's, let's say, very dirty water, people in those days, they would use water for a lot of things, and they would keep reusing it. After they washed themselves, then they would use it to wash the floor, and then they use it to wash the clothing, and after they wash the clothing, then they use it to wash the floor. So you have water that is good enough for washing clothes, but not good enough for anyone to drink, not even animals. Okay, but now we don't even have that much of that water, and we have to make a choice. We can do our own laundry, or we can give it to the next city so that they can do their laundry. We take precedence. It's our laundry water. We use it. Chaya acherim uchvisatan. Chaya acherim kodmin lechevisatan. However, if it's different levels and the other city needs it to drink, they don't even have water for basic drinking, and we need water, the same water. We have some clean water, but we need it for washing. We have enough water for drinking ourselves. We have enough water for animals, but we don't have enough water for laundry. In that case, their lives, the other humans drinking the water, takes precedence over our laundry. Okay, so only if it's the same level, then ours take precedence. But if their need is a greater need, a human need, that takes precedence over having clean clothing. All that is Tanakama. However, the Yosef Omer kibisatan kodemet lechaya acherim. He says no. Their laundry takes precedence over the lives of others. Meaning, if we only have a limited amount of water, we get to use it in our city for our laundry, even if you in your city don't even have enough water to drink. Our laundry takes precedence over your lives. Now, this doesn't make sense. Why should laundry take precedence over someone's life? It's not just that you look nice and don't have stains, right? Stains is walking around with stains is not as important as your life, but rather it's because the Bioseh thinks that it's dangerous to walk around with dirty clothing. We're not talking about nowadays that we wash something after we wear it for a half hour. We're talking about then they would wash after it becomes really dirty, then they would wash it. And if you go around and wear clothing that is dirty, it's going to cause danger. It's going to attract filth and germs and boils and who knows what. And so having dirty clothing is essential to life. And that takes precedence over someone else's actual drinking water. Okay. Now, hashtag kevisa amar Rabbi Yosef yesh basar. Now, here's our question. According to this source, Rabbi Yosef thinks that having unlaundered clothes, that would be an affliction. So if he says that, guf kulo lo kol sheken, not bathing one's entire body, wouldn't the Yosef certainly agree that would be an affliction? And yet, remember in our Mishnah, the Yosef said, what, not washing for a while? That's no big deal. That's not an affliction. Not eating any fruit, that's called an affliction. So how could it be that a Yosef would say that not washing one's body is okay, it's not an affliction, but not washing one's clothing, that's an affliction? Does that make any sense? And we answer, Amre'in, kibisa alima l'Rabbi Yoseh. Yes, Rabbi Yoseh says exactly. Having a dirty laundry is worse than having a dirty body. Damash Shemuel, Hai irbu bita deresha matyali de avira. Irbubita de mane machali de shi'amumita. Irbubita de gufa machali de shichane vechibe. We can prove it from Shemuel, who was, remember, a doctor. He knew a lot about health, and he said, if you have dirt on your head, that will lead to blindness. If someone has dirt on his clothing, it leads to madness. Dirt on one's body leads to boils and sores. So which is worse? Blindness and madness, that is worse than boils and sores. So if you have a dirty body, you get boils and sores. That's not such a big deal. But having dirty clothing, and that leads to madness, that is much worse. And so, yes, in fact, Rabbi Yosef says, having not washing for a while, well, that's okay. That's not such an affliction. Whereas having dirty clothing, that is very dangerous. Baruch Adonai Le'olam. Amen ve'amen.